Hi there, my name is Jozef Kulik and I'm an IGGY PhD student researching accessible game experiences. Prior to IGGY, I was working in the industry as a games user researcher where I became interested in exploring game accessibility. As we know, video games are an incredibly large aspect of popular culture. Despite this, it is still common for popular games to have a vast number of accessibility barriers for players with disabilities. To provide one example, in July 2016, Pokemon Go was released and was downloaded by more than 500 million players. Yet this game was reliant on being able to move between real-world locations in order to catch Pokemon. As a result, players with mobility difficulties would find it difficult to play in a way that was similar to the rest of the player base. These types of issues are common, with players with disabilities frequently experiencing barriers that either prevent them from being able to play comfortably or leaving them excluded altogether. In turn, my research so far has been centered around better understanding the experiences of game developers who are creating games and the challenges that they experience when trying to make accessible games. It is my view that this understanding could better help us understand which strategies might help or harm a developer's ability to make their games more or less accessible. For my first project, I used interviews and a grounded theory approach to help develop a clearer picture of the experiences and challenges that game developers were facing. From 12 detailed interviews, my research revealed a complex number of personal, organizational, and external attributes that contributed to the game development environment, which each have the capacity to make it either easier or harder to make accessible games. For example, interviews revealed the success of grassroots approaches to accessible game development, where game accessibility was advocated for by staff members embedded onto development teams within a company, as opposed to being mandated from the top down by company policy. This research also highlighted the value of insight from the experiences of players with disabilities, with these feeding into both the motivations of game developers wanting to make their games more accessible and the knowledge that developers needed to effectively make those games accessible. This research is crucial for our understanding of how game developers experience making games and the difficulties they experience when trying to make those games accessible. With this knowledge, we can better understand approaches and strategies that may have the greatest impact on a studio's ability to make accessible games. This can then help drive further research into areas such as exploring the knowledge transfer between developers and players with disabilities, and evaluating organizational strategies that may help studios better consider accessible design throughout development.